This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abich, founder of Abich Financial Services.
Time is of the essence, not just now, but always, Abe, as we enter into the most wonderful time of year. We say this every year, Abe. I can't believe the holidays are here. For you, though, the entire fall is the most wonderful time of year, being the big football fan that you are. Not so much good news for me because Virginia Tech, as a Hokie fan, it's been nothing but bad news the past 20 years, it feels.
Sounds like our local team here in the area, but you know what? There's always next season.
There's always next year. When in doubt, look to the future. While Hokie and Commander fans commiserate with each other, perhaps you cheer for a different team entirely. And if that's the case, hopefully your team will fare better than what mine seems to do year in, year out. That's a whole nother radio program. We could have a whole nother conversation about it, Abe. Let's talk about the work that you do in your office there, because we were actually, you and I, talking off air, the correlation between planning a football game, playing a football game, how much it aligns with our retirement strategies. We do not want to have financial fumbles as we get into what you call the retirement red zone, the last 5 to 10 years of retirement. But so many of us, you see every single day in the office, we walk up to you, we say, look at all the money I've saved for my retirement. And we're like so risk heavy. We don't even realize it. So many of us don't. However, the tech stock and what it has done to help us get to where we are now to be so well prepared for retirement, that's also, it's our friend and our foe, the Magnificent Seven. Abe, they continue to dominate, but investment advisor Gary Kaltbaum was telling Fox Business it also brings greater risk. This is what he said.
One of the main characteristics of when possible trouble looms is when things narrow to the point where just a few are really carrying the ball. And I got to tell you, 7 stocks are 64% of the NASDAQ 100. Even more amazing, those same 7 are 34% of the S&P 500. Think about that. A lot of people are calling it the S&P 493 right now, separated from those 7. But when a lot of money goes out of most and into a few, I think you get closer to a pullback of some sort, and we'll just take it as it comes.
Well, what he was talking about, Abe, is what you've been talking about for a long time now, how there are just a few companies that are really carrying the load in the market. So when you see somebody comes to you for a second opinion or review of their savings, how do you help them understand, one, what's going on, and two, work to spread out the risk, but also doing so without losing growth potential?
That's a great question, Heather. And you know what? Why so many people need a retirement plan, not just the investment plan, a retirement plan for this next season of your life, especially if you've won the game and you have a lot of money saved, you have more than enough saved to retire confidently. That Mag 7, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Meta, NVIDIA, Tesla. There's plenty of other hot companies here too lately, like Palantir and tons of others. But those are the Mag 7 currently. And we had the Mag 7 down to the Mag 5. Now we're back up to the Mag 7. You do see a lot of exposure in these companies in individual stock holdings, Heather. And then obviously they're embedded in a lot of funds, like all kinds of life cycle target date funds, ETFs. And so you can end up having a lot of exposure to just a few companies. Recent couple that came on board had about 30% of their total net worth in just 2 companies.
Really?
And so you really want to be careful with that because, man, 30% of your net worth in 2 companies. But a lot of people don't realize it. I mean, some people realize it. Some people know. But a lot of people don't realize it, that they have so much exposure to maybe a certain asset class, which is usually stocks, or certain companies or certain sectors until they have the analysis done. And especially married couples with tons of accounts, because you might not know what your spouse is invested in, right? And you put it all together, you streamline it, you get the analysis done on all the assets, and you're like, wow, there's a lot of overlap, there's a lot of inefficiency. And the main thing for those of you listening right now is, look, all of these companies are companies you probably want to own for the long haul. These are companies that are literally changing the world, but too much exposure in any one thing isn't good. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to be diversified. Just recently had a couple come in from Sterling, Virginia, not far away from our headquarters at all. $2.5 to $3 million saved, plenty of money saved for them, because in addition to that $2.5 to $3 million, several real estate properties, government pensions, Social Security checks, VA disability, private pension, just in really good shape as they transition here into full retirement in this first or second year of full retirement. When they came in, though, most of their dollars were in TSPs, former federal employees, and most of those dollars in the TSPs were in the CS&I funds, which are the stock funds, right? One is like the S&P 500, one's like the international fund. And those CS&I funds had done really well for them. They'll continue to probably do well long-term because they're stock funds. But 90% of their resources and net worth at that time was in the CS&I funds, right? Funds that they had been in for 20 to 30 years to help them get to that point. They then realized, wow, look at all the resources we have. Several properties with great strong rental income, 2.5 to 3 million in the TSPs and IRAs, pensions, Social Security. Do we need to continue and do we want to continue taking on this much risk as we transition into retirement?
Yep.
Because we're about to retire and our wage, that steady 2-week paycheck we got for 40 years is about to end.
Yep.
And we don't want to have to go back to work. What do? We built in layers of protection. We talk about so much here on the show. We reduced their risk from a 90-10 to a 60-40. We built in diversification, global diversification, tactical money management, pieces of the portfolio being managed and rebalanced monthly. Still stayed in stocks, but we built in some fixed income protection, really helped them transition from that phase 1 plan into phase 2, a plan with protection and income now as the main focuses. Sure, they're going to continue to grow the resources. They're in their 60s, could live into their 90s. So growth is still very important.
Right.
If you're listening right now and you're like, you know what, that sounds a lot like me, Abe. I'm in my 60s. We have 2.5 to 3 million or whatever amount of money you have saved. You're thinking about retiring soon or have already retired recently, but you're unsure of what you have and what you maybe should have as you head into this next season of your life. Pick up the phone right now. For the next 5 callers and others, if you're 55 years old and older, we want to offer you the same reporting that we offer to this couple in Sterling that helped them really see the differences between where they are today and where they could be and should be heading forward. And that was through the portfolio X-ray and analysis. Right now, complimentary.
All right. This next conversation I want to talk to you about, it's personal to me as a woman in this world. And it makes me want to lecture a lot of people. Ladies, we need to pull up a chair and understand what is headed our way like a tidal wave. Yeah. Also, all the financial professionals in this world, you too need to step up. Abe, I appreciate you because you have talked about helping women on so many different levels in the work that you do at Abich Financial Services. And I hope for all financial advisory services firms, industries to step up in the way that you have, because it's just not happening. There was an op-ed on MarketWatch.com talking about the changing landscape for women and finances. Listen to these stats. Studies show that, one, in nearly 45% of U.S. households, women earn equal or more than their husbands. 40% of American businesses are owned by women. This is the big one that I wanted to talk to you about, Abe. By 2048, so in the next approximate 20 years, women are projected to inherit 80% of the $100 trillion that's going to happen in the Great Wealth Transfer. 80% of that money, women, it's coming to us. We need to pay attention. However, we're not getting the advice we need, Abe. This story goes on to talk about how financial advice given to women, if any, it's outdated. Many advisors still operate under the assumption it's the husband that makes the financial decisions. They're ignoring single women altogether. Let's talk about what you see commonly overlooked or missed for women in the planning process and what we need to know about.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of times women aren't even included in the planning process, and that's not a good thing, right? No. Because we should be making decisions together, and so that especially if something happens to one of the spouses, which is usually the husband, the husband's usually going to go first because women live longer on average, that the surviving spouse, usually the woman, is the wife, is not left behind like in the dark, like not knowing what's going to happen. This happens all the time. And it's one of the biggest reasons why our married couple clients do business with us, and specifically if it's the husband leading the financial charge, and he'll encourage them to come in together to get a plan set up so that if he goes first, the plan continues as if he's still there, right? And she's got a firm to work with, ideally locally, that she can trust, that she knows, that she likes, that she's comfortable with, and the plan continue without a lot of interruption.
Okay.
We just had this happen, or had a case here recently where we just helped a lady in her late 50s whose husband passed away a few years ago, and just leaving her totally in the dark because he controlled all the financial decisions. I mean, he led that department in their marriage, right? And it happens all the time where one spouse kind of leads, the other spouse is kind of in the dark. The other spouse might not really want to know about it, might not really care about finances, might not understand finances. and they kind of just trust the other spouse to lead, make decisions there. And that can work out for a long time until it doesn't.
Until somebody passes. Yeah.
Until something happens.
Yeah.
And the other spouse is like, what the heck am I going to do now?
Yep.
This happened to this lady here with about $3 million, and she's a surviving widow, just not even 60 years old yet, 58 years old, out of the Annapolis, Maryland area. Husband passed several years ago, came in because she needed the guidance. He was running the charge on all the finances. She had no clue what to do because he managed everything, his accounts, her accounts, the joint accounts. So we put together a roadmap, put all the resources together, helped her with all of the rollovers, transfers, getting everything into her name, put together a plan, something that was easy for her to understand and simple to follow and to track. So important. You got to be able to understand things, right? If things are too complex, that's not good. It won't help most people. That was all done. We helped her through a retirement roadmap that helped her to show her where she was headed. Now being a widow allowed both of us to be able to continue to monitor this plan, which gave us and her, obviously, that added clarity and confidence and path forward she so desperately needed. Whether you're a widow, whether you're married, single, it doesn't matter. You want a plan in place that continues if you're not around, ideally with hardly any interruption at all. And if you don't, and you're not confident in that continuation plan, we want to help you set one up. That was done for this woman through a retirement roadmap. So if you're 55 years old and older, you've saved $500,000 or more for your retirement, we want to help you set up the same plan we did, or a similar plan for you as we did for this lady out of Annapolis.
Abe, we spend decades saving for, thinking about retirement, but when it's finally time for us to take that step, many of us get caught off guard by various things. What are some of those things that we need to be aware of? And for somebody who is about to retire, are there certain strategies that we should have in place but are often overlooked?
Yeah, first off, we got to get ready for an adjustment period. So leaving the workforce means far less income coming in, usually.
Okay.
And more money going out. Make sure to look over your budget before you retire, not after.
Yeah.
And where and what do you spend money on? What's your projected cash flow? One of the first things we do for our clients, in fact, it's the first thing after gathering all their information, is we put together an income plan so they can see all the cash flow, Social Security income, annuity income, pension income, rental income, stock income, and what have you. Prioritize your expenses before you break open the coffers and live it up. Get a sense of your nice to haves versus your need to haves.
Okay.
You can also take steps to lower the cost of those need to haves so that you can get more money left over for the fun stuff. Finally, you can keep adding to your savings, right? So if you have extra cash flow, you don't need all the cash flow for income. You can continue to save, continue to invest as you head even into retirement. One example I can think of right now is RMDs, right? A lot of people don't need all the RMDs that they're forced to take out. You can reinvest the after-tax amounts into brokerage accounts and invest those long-term. We just had a couple that became clients because they needed this help with this transition into phase 2. Former government employees, both of them out of the Gainesville, Manassas, Warrenton area there down off of 29, and $2 million in the TSPs, almost all stock. That's how they got to the $2 million. Just really had no idea how to transition into full retirement. You know, they've got the pension, we'll have Social Security, really no sense primarily on how to use the TSPs. Like the TSP 401ks, great accumulation vehicles, like easy to sock money away, get the match, have it all grow deferred, have it all compound. You got easy access to it, or easy insight into it, can see it easily. But how do we turn this like $2 million bucket into monthly income? How do we get it out? Should we leave it in the TSP? Should we transfer it into an IRA? How do we get into our bank account so we can actually spend it? How do we invest it for this next season of our lives? It's got us here, no complaints there, but is it the right risk? Is it in the right accounts? Is it in the right funds? How do we turn it from all growth into income? Just really needing that income plan that shows them where all the income is going to come from, because they had that steady paycheck for 40 years, right? Every 2 weeks. So if you're listening right now and you say, you know what, I sound like this couple, I've got a couple $1 million saved, about to retire soon or just retired. I'm not sure, Abe and the team, how to turn my resources into income, which accounts to tap, how to invest for this next season of my life. Should I leave the TSP alone? Should I leave the 401k alone? Should I consolidate, streamline, roll over? when should I take Social Security? All these questions that come down the pike right at the point of retirement. Pick up the phone right now. If you're 55 years old and older, you've saved $500,000 or more for your retirement. We want to offer you the same retirement income plan that we offered to this couple out of the Gainesville area, complimentary.
Let's start that conversation. You can find us anytime. Visit us at theretirementkey.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abich. To learn more about Abich Financial Services, visit theretirementkey.com. And join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m. Abish Financial Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and the content of this communication has not been approved or verified by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or by any state securities authority. The information contained in this material is intended to provide general information about Abish Financial Wealth Management and its services. It is not intended to offer investment advice. Investment advice will only be given after a client engages our services by executing the appropriate investment services agreement. Information regarding investment products and services are provided solely to read about our investment philosophy and our strategies.